7 billion people have walked this earth across recorded history. But historians, philosophers, and data scientists who have spent decades analyzing the arc of human civilization largely agree fewer than 20 individuals are responsible for shaping the world every single person alive today was born into. 20 people. Out of billions. That number should stop you cold. Welcome to History Vault YT. What you are about to hear is not a simple list of famous names. This is a deep examination of influence itself, what it actually means to change the direction of human civilization, how certain individuals manage to bend the course of history with nothing but an idea, a sword, or a single moment of courage. We will look at conquerors, prophets, scientists, and philosophers. And we will reveal something that almost nobody discusses, why the most influential figure in all of recorded history is not who most people expect. Stay with us, because that answer is genuinely going to challenge what you think you know. To understand influence at this scale, you have to start by understanding what the ancient world actually looked like. For most of human prehistory, knowledge moved at the speed of a walking human being. If you discovered something important in one village, it might take generations to reach the next one. The world was not connected. It was fragmented, tribal, and largely stagnant. Civilizations rose in isolation along rivers, the Nile, the Tigris, the Euphrates, the Indus, the Yellow River. Each one believed it was the center of existence. Into that fragmented world, a handful of individuals arrived and changed everything. Not gradually. Suddenly. Violently. Completely. The first name that demands recognition is Cyrus the Great. Ruling Persia in the 6th century BCE, Cyrus built the largest empire the world had ever seen at that point, stretching from modern-day Turkey to the edges of India. But raw conquest alone does not explain his influence. What made Cyrus extraordinary was his governing philosophy. He issued the Cyrus Cylinder, widely regarded by historians as the first declaration of human rights in recorded history. He allowed conquered peoples to keep their religions, their customs, their languages. He freed enslaved populations, including the Jewish people held in Babylonian captivity. Cyrus essentially invented the idea that an empire could be built on tolerance rather than terror. Every modern democratic principle of religious freedom and cultural respect traces a direct line back to this man standing in ancient Persia over 2,500 years ago. Then there is Alexander the Great, who took that Persian empire, shattered it, and replaced it with something entirely new. By age 32, Alexander had conquered territory spanning 3 continents. But conquest is not the story. The story is what happened after. Alexander deliberately fused Greek culture with Persian, Egyptian, and Indian traditions. He founded cities, over 70 of them, all named Alexandria, and filled them with libraries, schools, and marketplaces where ideas collided and multiplied. The resulting Hellenistic civilization became the intellectual foundation of Rome, which then became the foundation of Western civilization itself. One man's military campaign quite literally restructured the cultural DNA of half the planet. But here is what nobody talks about when we discuss the ancient world: the most transformative force in all of human history was not a military general. It was an idea. Specifically, it was writing. The Sumerians developed cuneiform script around 3200 BCE. The Egyptians followed with hieroglyphics. And when humanity learned to record knowledge outside of human memory, everything changed. Laws could be preserved. Science could accumulate. Religion could be codified. Without writing, there are no great empires, no organized religion, no philosophy, no science. Every individual on this list only became influential because writing allowed their ideas to survive them. Which brings us directly to the figures whose ideas reshaped the spiritual and philosophical landscape of humanity. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, lived in the 5th century BCE and developed a philosophy of human suffering and liberation that today guides the lives of over 500 million people. His core insight was radical for its time, that suffering is caused by desire, and liberation comes from within, not from gods or kings. Buddhism spread across Asia, profoundly shaping the art, governance, ethics, and daily lives of billions of people across 2.5 millennia. Confucius, living in roughly the same era, developed a system of social ethics centered on loyalty, family hierarchy, and moral self-cultivation. His teachings became the official philosophy of Chinese civilization for over 2,000 years. When you consider that China has historically represented between 1/4 and 1/3 of all humanity, the sheer demographic weight of Confucian influence is almost impossible to overstate. And then there is Jesus of Nazareth. Whatever your personal beliefs, the historical impact of this figure is undeniable. Christianity today claims over 2.4 billion adherents, roughly 30% of the entire global population. The religion shaped the fall of Rome, the rise of Europe, the colonization of the Americas, the abolition of slavery, the development of universities, hospitals, and international law. To trace the influence of Jesus through history is to essentially trace the architecture of the modern Western world. Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, lived 6 centuries later and built a religious and political movement that within 100 years of his death had spread from Spain to Central Asia. Islam preserved Greek philosophy during Europe's Dark Ages, advanced mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and architecture, and today guides the lives of 1.8 billion people. The historian Michael Hart placed Muhammad at the very top of his landmark book, The 100, a ranking of the most influential persons in history, precisely because Muhammad was both the religious and political founder of Islam in a way that gave him unique singular influence over the movement's early direction. Now shift forward to the scientific revolution, because this is where the modern world truly begins. Isaac Newton, publishing his Principia Mathematica in 1687, did not simply explain gravity. He established the entire framework of scientific reasoning, the idea that the universe operates according to mathematical laws that can be discovered through observation and experimentation. Newton's work made the Industrial Revolution possible. It made engineering, physics, chemistry, and modern medicine possible. Virtually every piece of technology you interact with every single day exists because Newton demonstrated that the physical world is rational, predictable, and understandable. Charles Darwin then did for biology what Newton did for physics. His theory of natural selection, published in 1859, answered the most fundamental question humanity had ever asked: where did we come from? Evolution transformed medicine, genetics, anthropology, psychology, and our entire understanding of what it means to be a living organism on this planet. The resistance Darwin faced from religious institutions was violent and sustained, which is itself evidence of just how profoundly his ideas threatened the existing order. But here is something genuinely counterintuitive that most history channels will not tell you. The individuals who created the conditions for mass communication may ultimately rank above even the greatest conquerors and prophets in terms of historical influence. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press, invented around 1440, made the Protestant Reformation possible. It made the scientific revolution possible. It made democracy possible. Before the printing press, information was controlled by elites, priests and kings. After it, ideas could spread faster than any authority could suppress them. Gutenberg did not conquer nations. He made it impossible for nations to stay conquered by ignorance. The same argument can now be made about the inventors of the internet, about Alan Turing, whose foundational work on computation gave birth to the digital age, and about figures like Tim Berners-Lee, who built the World Wide Web. The full scope of their influence has not yet been written, because we are still living inside it. What all of these individuals share, Cyrus, Alexander, the Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, Muhammad, Newton, Darwin, Gutenberg, is that they each fundamentally altered the conditions of human existence. Not just for their own time, but for every generation that followed. That is the true measure of influence, not fame, not power in the moment, but the permanent reshaping of what comes after. Influence is not about holding a throne. It is about changing what the throne means. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to History Vault YT for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.